Can money really buy you happiness? No, it buys the tools to get you happiness. Welcome to Microsoft X Anno 1800, a game all about uplifting society through developing a majestic colonial empire, managing a complex economy, and making money by banning the poor from receiving mail. Where today we're going to be performing a corporate acquisition on the entire continent of Europe, all while waging war against 3 corporate competitors. But I could never morally play a game promoting the dangers of unregulated capitalism without a sponsor. Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus, a fast-paced, turn-based mobile game within the Warhammer 40k universe. Utilize a wide array of factions like the genocidal Astra Militarum, or the genocidal Thousand Sons, or the genocidal every other faction in the game. Play through PvE, PvP, live events, guild raids, and even iconic campaigns from the Warhammer universe like the Fall of Cadia. My only complaint is that Abaddon has arms. Recently, the game received a new faction, the Blood Angels, a chapter of Space Marine best well known for looking like they're from the wrong century and making US congressmen look young. Starting August 25th, you can get the legendary champion Mephiston, harmlessly nicknamed the Lord of Death. Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus is also free, although it does make you eligible to be drafted to get ripped apart by aliens in outer space. So go ahead, download it in the pinned comment below. Or else, Mr. President, there's been a second Blackstone fart now. Back to the video. So welcome to Anno 1800. In the name of the free market, our goal is to eliminate all competition from our 3 competitors. Willie Wivelsock, a wealthy, self-made man who worked hard for his inherited money. Dr. Hugo Mercier, a dentist, and on the weekends, a utopian anarchist. His people live a life free from the shackles of unjust hierarchy with only one itsy-bitsy rule. You are not allowed to leave. And lastly, Lady Margaret Hunt, a kind and exceptional...
Lies never really disappear. Unlike those who tell them.
Moving on, and then our company, which is of course headed by Mr. von Bismarck. I definitely wasn't one character off from adding Otto. It's a game about Europe. Why can't I make the average European name? Noah of Clanvargath Gwingith Gagareth Wawingith Lintasila Go Go Go. So Anno begins with us on a humble flagship containing everything necessary for human survival. Steel, wood, and lots of weapons. Thus beginning the race with our competitors to claim our very first island.
A competitor raised a settlement.
So with Hugo getting there first, we settled with this piece of trash. Sailing to the next shore, we can build a trading post to claim the island, allowing us to set up our starting infrastructure. Foresters to chop wood, plus a market in the center to distribute goods, and farming houses around it. As our population grows, we get access to more buildings and consumer demands. So after getting 50 farmers, they horrifyingly began to demand food. But more importantly, they pay for it. $1 whole. And you know what they pay even more for? No, not clothes. Alcohol. I love alcoholics. Unhappy? Here's beer. Hungry? Here's beer. Homeless? Oh, nothing a little bit of beer can't solve. These luxury goods make far more money than basic needs. To actually make alcohol, we grow potatoes, which becomes schnapps. To make clothes, we farm wool and sew it into outfits. Basic good production lines are pretty simple right now, but later they become vastly more complicated. While we were getting our island up and running, our competition was doing the same. Willie Wivelsock, Dr. Mercier, and Lady Hunt had all settled their own islands, which begs the question, how exactly do we beat them? There are 2 ways to conquer an island, a hostile corporate takeover, and a slightly more hostile corporate takeover. We could either buy all the island shares or capitulate them through coastal bombing, both being options that are only possible much later in the game. Instead, I just did quests for them earning money and positive relations. Tasks like, hey, pick up this crate I left in the ocean. Don't ask how it got there or why it's screaming for help. In the diplomacy tab, we can also flatter them, giving a chance for positive relations. So, Mr. Mercier, nice teeth. For a British guy.
You are an original.
Bribery and treaties also increase relations, but it doesn't stop the AI from expanding on their own, with Lady Hunt settling a second island extremely quickly, then Mercier following suit. While back on our one island, we were upgrading our farmers into workers. By satisfying all of a citizen's basic needs, we can upgrade them into better, richer people. Workers helm more complex jobs, have their own separate needs, and pay for them, further complicating our economy but allowing us to make more money. At the top, you can see all of our types of workers and current surpluses of them. Run into a worker deficit, and you could probably guess what happens. The first thing to get up and running was a clay pit and furnace to make bricks for advanced construction, but with more resources comes complications. Factory explosions, anarchist infiltrators, and quests not from our competitors, but from our citizens. I spent 10 minutes scanning everywhere just to find a cow, leading to my citizens getting even more drunk. And on the topic of intoxication, meet Anne Harlow. Smash next. As the local pirate queen, she's not very different from our citizens. Unlikable, belligerent, and a not so closeted closeted alcoholic. Her fort resides in the corner of the map, sending ships every which way to raid and intercept convoys, although this only really becomes important when we start trading between islands. While we developed our rapidly growing city, I kept accepting quests from our 3 competitors. In exchange for picking up a floating crate, Lady Hunt bestowed upon me a royal CTC grenade. Apparently these were used to put out fires in the Victorian era. On an unrelated note, they also contain the materials used in World War I chemical weapons, so my people are gonna love them. I mean, I just completed a quest where I had to take a picture of their favorite pastime, where 2 men square off in the center of a market, beat each other into unconsciousness, and continue this process until they are hospitalized. Also, I have no hospital. To remedy this, I provided a different form of entertainment, working at the local steel mill. It's a lot of fun, for me. Not only is steel our next tier of construction material, its building chain also creates new complexity. Iron ore plus charcoal becomes smelted iron, and that becomes steel, requiring an entirely new park of factories to process. The steel building chain also showcases natural resources, because in the bottom left, you can see everything on our island. Various resource deposits, oil, and most importantly, fertility. So you can't grow every crop in the game in one spot, because each island can only grow certain things. We have potatoes, wheat, hops, and hides on this island, but we needed to expand to the island across the way for its different crops and natural resources. By sending our flagship with the wood and steel to build a dock, we can claim the island using influence, located here in the top left. Growing your city and hitting milestones increases influence, while claiming islands, building ships, and expanding your dock uses it up. And every so often, a newspaper gets published, reporting on all the wonderful things you've done. Benevolent leader succeeds again. New company takes root. Happiness and light. But our publisher is only human, so sometimes he makes minor grammatical errors. Relations sour. The city becomes uglier. Well, he was clearly trying to spell spend, spend, spend. You are happier than you think. Propaganda. Yeah, let me take a propaganda at them profits. Lady Hunt doesn't really like propaganda due to her measly tragic backstory. I mean, get this. Her entire family was exiled and executed by the Queen. Get over it already, am I right? I gave her $6,000 to make her forget about her trauma and moved on with my life, like watching the coal mine explode. Unsafe working conditions, how can I fix this? Of course, more beer. But my workers are a class-conscious people, well aware of their exploitation. What if I pay you in sausage?
I like being oppressed.
Looking towards the rest of the map, my flagship had been exploring to reveal other islands. In doing so, we met the last 3 NPCs of the old world, Eli Bleakworth, Sir Archibald Blake, and Madame Kania, all neutral parties we can trade with. To start manufacturing ships for trading, I built a sailmaker and shipyard, because our flagship had a very special task, an expedition to explore the new world. Right now, you might be wondering where the game actually starts getting complex. So you see this whole first map we've explored? Yeah, that's right. First map. Currently, we're looking at the old world, essentially the equivalent of Europe. But this map doesn't have every resource, which is where the new world comes in. By completing an expedition, we can discover an entirely new map to begin colonizing, shipping the necessary resources between the old world and the new world. In terms of expedition supplies, 50 sausages, this random guy, and to negotiate with the natives, poison gas. Expeditions happen over time and trigger decisions. Found a random banquet in the middle of nowhere, it was a trap. Someone died. Oh no, an alligator, use the holy hand grenade. And when you do find loot, you better hope there is cargo space. I could dump the food, the grenade, or...
Please help me.
If your morale reaches 0, you lose your ship, crew, and everything you brought. Fortunately, our expedition returned safely, but we'd still need to do more to uncover the new world. In the meantime, we'd had some major developments. First and foremost, by upgrading some of our workers into artisans.
All I ever desired was a place to live and work.
Yeah, they're pretty weird. Whereby granting us higher tech and a whole new set of needs to fulfill.
Wow, they have it! A whole fucking sewing machine.
I mean, how many sewing machines could you possibly need? You've bought 5 so far, and the week's not even over. They eat more sewing machines than they do canned food, i.e. artisanal goulash, which is an even bigger headache to make. This means growing peppers and beef, turning that into goulash, and canning it with iron. But we don't have the space for farms on our main island, so I outsourced them to our secondary one. This forces us to create a trade route, automatically transporting goods between 2 islands. We can also use this to make money from our competitors by signing trade agreements with Mercier and Wibbly. Lady Hunt does not care. As one of the most aggressive characters in the game, not only did she already claim a 3rd island, as soon as my military score dips too low, she will declare war regardless of our relations. Wibbly, on the other hand, is essentially a pacifist, and Mercier is somewhat relaxed, unless you accept his defectors.
You only exist. You're not alive.
For a lawless, governmentless land that is also named Trust, there are a lot of rules. Rule number 1, leave and we shoot you. Maybe we're not so different after all. I also accepted a quest from Eli to return some escaped prisoners. In what form, he did not say. Eli's prison island was in dire need of soap for washing out mouths. Making money from quests is nice side income, but higher tier citizens are the real breadwinners, with satisfying artisan needs making a ridiculous amount of money compared to workers. While we still need workers and farmers for most jobs, having a massive surplus of artisans is fine because they exist for the sole purpose of paying taxes. Man, I love segregation by class. We have the rich people island and then the other one. But there is another major way to make money, and that is through shares. Each owned island in the game has 5 shares of equity. When you settle an island, you start with all 5, but other players can buy them, with each one representing a 1/5 of its income. So if an island is making $5,000 and you own 1 share, you'll be siphoning $1,000 of its income. Buy all 5 and you could perform a corporate takeover of the island, seizing complete control over it, although you can buy your shares back over time to prevent it. For now, I just invested my excess money into 1 share of Wibbly's Island and 1 share of Mercier's to generate some extra cash, even if I probably should have used it for something else. A quarter of the city is on fire. I must consult the markets. I mean, this is me messing with my graphic settings during the recording for 10 minutes. You could literally see the town burning in the corner the whole time. The local newspaper reports a catastrophic explosion never actually happened. The only thing exploding here is my bank account and pirates. A major part of Anno 1800 is the naval combat. Right now, it's pretty useless, but as the game progresses, our dinky 2-ship fleet becomes the British Armada. For right now, though, the main use is for expeditions, being introduced to not Amelia Earhart and her not airplanes, a path to the land of the lions, and a quest to find the missing queen. I'm suddenly hot under the collar. Buddy, my city's on fire. The Land of Lions has a few paths you can take to get there, requiring luck, decision-making, and consulting the wiki answer key. The Crocodile Delta. First you get a lecture, then we just use that to, negotiate. At least we did finally find the queen.
I am not here to escape.
Silence! Old Nate is talking.
Welcome to Trelone.
By finding the queen, we've discovered our first secondary land, Crown Falls, and not long after, Mbesa, then the New World. That means altogether, we're now managing 4 different regions: the Old World, Crown Falls, Mbesa, and the New World. For the sake of simplicity, the Old World and Crown Falls are essentially interchangeable in terms of resources. Crown Falls does have some special mechanics, but I'll get to that much later. Mbesa, however, is a completely different land to ours, requiring immigration to grow crops and having a totally different population, needs, and tiers of citizens that are broke. Technically, they do get something called scholars later in the game, which is extremely powerful, but right now it's not so relevant. Because the most important location is the New World. Based on South America, the New World contains the majority of the resources we need to grow our islands back in the Old World. For example, to make expensive fur coats, we need cloth and hide. The hide we get in the Old World, but the cloth comes from cotton plantations we can only grow in the New World. The reverse also applies, with higher tier New World citizens needing Old World goods, like, sewing machines. This means that we need cross-continental trade routes to continue teching up, but as you might imagine, it's not that simple. Meet Jean Le Fortune, the New World equivalent of Pirate Queen Anne Harlow. Smash. Next. Trade ships are especially vulnerable to pirate attacks, requiring us to overhaul our fleet and defenses to escort every trade ship. So of course, I began by employing about 35% of my workforce in weapons factories. Ship of the Lions are the best wooden ships we can make. They're pretty decent, but they can get overwhelmed easily. The solution is straightforward. For every ship your enemy has, just build a bigger one, twice. I call this original idea big stick diplomacy. You won't invade my island if you can't set foot off yours. Given this military transition would take a while, I tried for a ceasefire with Anne Harlow. Her first demand, $80,000. So I gifted her 8 and she lowered her demand by $65,000. Okay. Pacifying Jean with money as well. That means I was at peace with everyone. Sort of. I've talked a lot about Lady Margaret Hunt and the kind of person she is, but there's more. Not only does she actually like pollution, she greatly enjoys when your city is on fire, outbreaks of illness, riots getting out of control, and above all, absolutely detests lax working conditions. She puts about half her economy into military, aggressively buys other players' shares, and oh look, it costs $28,000 for 1 relation point. Lady Hunt declaring war isn't an if, it's a when. And unfortunately that when is probably very soon. So in the meantime of us building up our military, let's check on the economy. Not good. Turns out increasing your naval expenses by a factor of 10 costs a lot. And recouping our money would require our next and second to last tier of citizen, the engineer. Okay. Engineers have some of the most complex needs, the most profitable of which is ale. It's alcoholic. And you probably guessed it, this stuff comes all the ways from the New World. When we do have alcohol, the economy is thriving, business is booming, and the people are happy. But when it's gone,
An explosion in one of your factories.
It's our human right.
And killed him in one hit.
supplying this need requires New World production from these honest and hardworking people. Don't forget free. In this strange foreign land, the natives accept tacos as currency. Now this deal is a steal because it's at gunpoint. Both the New and Old World also have a resource that flows like the American blood in my veins: oil. Engineers require electricity that we generate through oil power plants and railroads. Electricity in Anno is notoriously awful. You need an oil power plant near the actual residences connected to the train track. There's no substations or power lines, and you basically just throw down power plants in the center of your city. And before you say Arctic gas power plants, we don't have those right now. So we're stuck with this. And man, I may be autistic, but even I don't like these trains. Electricity does at least give plus 100% production speed as required for some factories, but the infrastructure itself is extremely costly. So we want to avoid any kind of income reduction or conflict for the time.
It's as kind as we could make it.
Fuck!
Did you think God might intervene?
This is Lady Margaret Hunt's Island, and this is her military score. Not only has she colonized every single region we share, she's been simultaneously buying Mercer out of nearly his whole island. Meanwhile, my dumbass is broke. To be honest, I was. Not expecting Sean to also declare war on me. And Ann Harlow.
I have a question for God.
An explosion.
Now, I like war a lot. I mean, I'm from North America. But what I like more than war is making money. And in Anno, war is extremely expensive, especially with Lady Margaret Hunt. War with her usually ends in one side losing nearly everything. And unfortunately, while I have one ship of the line, she has many. And by teching into airships, she can now bomb my islands anywhere on the map. But there is one caveat. The military score is completely inflated. It's calculated from a few things, namely the actual power and size of your fleet. But it also factors in defensive structures, and Christ on a tricycle does the AI love to build defenses, smashing them out on every coast and turning each island into its own fortified Alcatraz. The yellow islands on the map are ours, whereas the light blue are Lady Hunt's. So not only is each island a fortress, there's also quite a lot of them, and that's not even counting the islands on the other 3 regions. Taking one look at my single ship wharf, I quadrupled it and built 3 more. Then leveled up our capital, granting us steamship technology, the most important siege tech in the game due to one thing: this stupid gun. Flamethrower turrets have about 63 DPS, whereas ship of the lines have 53. But just a little quirk of the flamethrowers, when they attack wooden ships, that number goes up 575%. A few of these will kill an entire fleet in 10 seconds. And the way you successfully siege an island is by destroying most of its port infrastructure, such as its defenses. So getting steamships is necessary. I just need to figure out how. Helpful is the already existing weapons factories we have, letting me build a few defenses to protect our ports in the old world. Remember how this place exists? And this one? And that one? All of these are potential targets, except Mbesa, because I already lost it, and probably Crown Falls too, but not the Lady Hunt. With pirates disrupting my ale production trade routes, my alcoholic citizens stopped paying taxes, all the while Mercier slid in with his cool $120,000 non-aggression pact offer. In terms of diplomacy, Mercier and Wibbly were friendly to us, and everyone else at war. My harbors were constantly under attack, and my trade routes couldn't even function. So after mass producing some ship of the lines, I sank a few of Lady Hunt's ships and some defenses, causing her to snap build a flamethrower turret and burn 2 whole ship crews alive. Still, we were slowly reclaiming trade routes, and therefore our income. Money I was immediately sinking into more ships. The turning point of the war was her attacking my main island directly, but the defenses I built managed to repel her and sink a few of the ships. This increased my standing with the pirate factions, letting me negotiate ceasefires with both Anne and Jean, then letting go on the defensive for a change. Despite the insane amount of defenses on each island, ship of the lines are surprisingly easy to spam out, and with them I began to siege down one of Lady Hunt's outer islands. The first set of defenses didn't stand much of a chance, but running into the second, I hope you enjoyed today's menu, because it is entirely charred human. Watching one ship get vaporized and another roleplay a Salem witch, I microback the damaged ships while focusing down the flamethrower turret. With the island morale wavering nearly broken, just barely did I have enough surviving ships to take out the last of the coastal defenses and capitulate the island. This brings us to an important decision. Either A, steal all 5 island shares, or B, conquer the island. Now option B does have a small downside. It destroys the entire island. Every single building, road, and living, breathing human being have clicked their collective ruby slippers together and been sent to hell. Compensation comes in the form of gaining the island itself, and some loot Lady Hunt was hoarding like 225 cannons. She did try and take it back, but suiciding several ships into my navy is not a good tactic. The greatest threat to my people is probably me. Apparently things have gotten so bad at Crown Falls, I'm giving Wibbly depression. Why don't I have a hospital? Well, is it A, I'm lacking medical equipment, B, I don't have money, C, I don't have workers, or D, I'm literally just out of windows. The main city though, now that's not actually doing bad, as long as you ignore the roving anarchist gangs. You would think finding a naked man running around with a torch would not be hard, yet he blew up the church. Why Mercier continues to send these people, I genuinely don't know. Looking back towards the world at large, we've taken a second island from Lady Hunt, albeit a pretty small and useless one. It's her main two that cause 90% of the trouble, since sometimes my trade ships sail close enough to the harbor to become kindling. In the new world, my port was constantly under attack, just barely holding it off so I could build more defenses. Losing that island specifically would essentially cost us the entire game, since it produces the AoE ship back to the old world for profit. It also has a tourist port making stupid amounts of cash, while also being bombed. The authentic American experience. Tourism back in the old world, hey look, a rock. And a weapons factory. We do have a zoo. It's got a bison, a jellyfish, and a pelican. Surprise, surprise, nobody wants to come to your island because everyone's diet is alcohol and sewing machines. My economy was just too dependent on unreliable sources of income, so I needed something more guaranteed. Something that adds literally no value to society besides money. That's right, investors. We'd satisfied all our engineer needs, letting us promote them into investors. These pip-pip cheerio Tuesday looking fellas contribute money, have no jobs to work, and spend all day riding their penny farthings. They're also the only scalable source of influence. All the ways back to the start, I mentioned the importance of influence, even though we have a massive surplus right now. The problem is, because influence is used to claim islands, it's also used to conquer them, meaning I need enough influence to conquer every island on the map, and that's not even counting the extra influence I need to build the navy to conquer the entire map. The influence cost scales on the size of the island, which map it's on, and if it's a unique island. I was hoping to pawn some of the influence costs onto Wibbly by allying it, but I realized right after you can't bring an ally into an already existing war. At 2 minutes after I signed the alliance,
You have to help me. I started a war.
you did well off to hang myself. With Wibbly's worthless war wilted, the reality of our stalemate with Lady Hunt began to set in. The only way to break her old world islands was with battle cruisers, built from the steam shipyard and requiring advanced weapons and steam motors. Yay! For the steam motors, we needed copper and zinc to make brass, both resources located in the old world on our secondary island. For the weapons, we needed saltpeter, another labor-intensive old world resource. But the real road bump, we need electricity, because both the steam shipyard and advanced weapons factory require power, and we didn't have nearly enough oil to power everything we needed at once, including our investor residences. But before we did anything, I was about to lose the game. With negative income, if your money goes below negative $5,000, you go bankrupt and lose. So right on the cusp of a game over without me even realizing, we got extremely lucky with Sir Archibald Blake bailing us out. Still, with negative income, we'd lose if I didn't get more money immediately, until I remembered, we're not the only alcoholics. All game, I've been inconvenienced by the fact that we settled right next to the Pirate Island, but when you have trade rights with them, they buy beer. A lot of beer. For $1,000 each. I made $156,000 just by selling our excess, putting us back into the positive and letting me comfortably mass-produce ship of the lines. Our flame turrets in the old world were holding off Lady Hunt ships, allowing me to send my entire fleet to the new world. Greetings, indigenous island. I heard you have oil, but worry not. I come bearing gifts like the greatness of modern society. Here is an 18-hour shift in the gold mine. Your new purpose in life is to make pocket watches. With the ludicrous amount of wealth we were gaining, the newly acquired oil, and a now functioning shipyard, we constructed our very first battle cruiser. The main benefit of these is their range, because with a few range increasing items, they actually outrage most defenses like the flame turrets, letting us take down an island for free and setting our sights on the final boss of Lady Hunt, her highly defended main island. With 3 sides, all filled with defenses and cannon turrets to match the range of our battle cruisers, we needed the economy to support a ridiculously sized navy. To that end, I started on a sky hangar for airships and built a commuter pier, allowing us to share our workforce between islands. I even supercharged our production by giving our workers a voice and building building trade unions, then cramming them with highly explosive steam turbines. That being said, massive militaries are expensive, reflecting in my increasingly negative income. But I had a secret weapon bestowed upon me by the gods themselves, an anti-bourgeoisie cocktail. Trust me, it's very persuasive, even giving us the funding to construct the Grand Fleet and make a move onto Hunt's main island. Side 1 was a cakewalk, Side 2 we cheesed with battlecruiser range, and Side 3 was something that crawled up from hell. Using Ship of Alliance as collateral, we engaged in mass bombing of probably not civilians, ending up with highly damaged and on-fire ships, but somehow not capitulating the island. Turns out I can't count, because there is a fourth set of defenses. I had to sail everything I had in, and only by pulling out weapon ships to redirect the aggro did I barely eke out a win, capturing the island. Hunt's main island being demolished meant we'd overcome the largest hurdle we had to face in regarding booting her out of the old world. Her last 3 islands were particularly impressive, and the most she could dish out was occasionally bombing the docks of my new world. Over about an hour, I managed to take over the 3 remaining islands. Lots of bombing, lots of explosions, and apparently accidentally taking over Wibbly's main island too. I was pretty confused during the recording, but I managed to figure out what happened afterwards. At this exact moment, you can see Wibbly's main island conquered by Lady Hunt. Then exactly 1 minute and 2 seconds later, an island capitulates, which I assume is the island I'm currently bombing, but no, it's actually this one. Turns out a trade ship sailed past the island, bombed it a tiny bit, and it instantly capitulated, giving me the island, essentially knocking out 2 competitors in one go. That meant that effectively the only threat I had left was Hugo Mercier.
There will be spies among us. Treat them without hostility. Have faith. They will get better soon.
So throughout most of the game, I've been talking primarily about Lady Margaret Hunt. This is because she's the most aggressive competitor when it comes to expansion, declaring wars, and taking over islands. But she is not the most powerful. That is where Hugo Mercier comes in, because his specialization is in defense. His islands are sprawling metropolises of long-range artillery, flame turrets, defensive airships, and basically his entire island resembles something out of Boom Beach. So why don't we just do the same thing as with Lady Hunt, make a ton of ship of the line, sail to his island, and get blown up by a sea mine. That's right, Hugo Mercier is the only competitor in the game to indiscriminately deploy sea mines. He will spam these out literally everywhere, blowing up attacking fleets, trading vessels, and anyone else who doesn't worship Great Leader.
We are investigating the recent disappearances.
His anarchists even make crazy demands like putting posters of him in the town hall. So I did, for 1 whole second. And a concerned citizen reported masses of gangs hiding around the city. Not that they got the memo, considering they were hiding in the middle of the street. Although he doesn't have much in the way of naval offense, he has something far more insidious: propaganda, and not the good kind. His airships have been constantly dropping leaflets spreading sentiments against my island, then rejoicing at the riots they cause. And some of these riots can be extremely problematic, shutting down the entire city center and tanking my economy. Fortunately, I did what any responsible government would do: used eminent domain to bulldoze a dozen houses and replace them with police stations. We like to use rubber bullets, except I substitute the rubber for lead. All in all, the economy started to boom. Anno 1800 is not a city builder, it's a spreadsheet with the backdrop of a city builder. Making cigars for my investors? Oh, that's not too hard. Now they want steam carriages. Oh my god. Okay, you know what? It took me an hour to figure it out, but the steam carriages are done. Now what? Upgrade to skyscraper. Okay, what do I need? Just elevators? Ah. At least they can get me high enough so I can jump off a building. Basically, skyscrapers make you stupid money, and I can make it even better by stacking tax items in a nearby town hall. My personal favorite, Miserable Max's brutal tax legislation. Minus happiness, plus 40% income for 11.4 thousand per building. We somehow have more investors than any other group of people on the island. But the absolute best way to squeeze more money from our citizens is with airships. I completed a rigid airship hangar, letting us build our first flying machines. And a special feature is that they could transport mail, incredibly lucrative mail. We've been providing local mail, which makes an okay amount of money, but transporting mail between islands gives regional mail, and across the ocean generates international mail, all making more money than the last. The thing is, farmers and workers consume mail just as fast as investors without the large money increase. This is the mail income from farmers, and this is the mail income from investors. So, with my legislative clout, I banned them from receiving mail. now, and it fixed the economy. Moral of the story, never give poor people rights. Our money had gone from hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars with an income of over 100K, and I was using it to purchase talented leaders from the local prison and pirate gangs. Oh, and tourism.
This city is a magnet for genius.
Lots of talent there. Every time I made peace with Lady Hunt, she'd declare war on me immediately after. So I'd just throw a few $100,000 into a 2-hour ceasefire, then 2 hours later, do it again. And again, and again. It doesn't even put a dent in my money, but it does give me an idea. See, going to war with Mercier and his 4 islands would mean sea mines absolutely everywhere. I wouldn't be able to trade, buy from vendors, or do pretty much anything. So, what about a non-aggression pact? This binds him to peace no matter our standing, so he'd be unable to declare war for 4 in-game hours no matter what we did. That military action is nice, but we do have a stronger move.
I'm out of my league. Except I've got money.
The Queen tried that, you know. This is state control, mind control. Perceive it in whatever way you wish.
Over the course of several hours, I'd bought out 3 of Mercier's 4 islands, leaving only his main island, Trust. I would buy that one too, if it weren't worth $7 million for all the shares, then another $7 million for the takeover. We're talking an island with massed long-range artillery, surrounded by sea mines, and my influence couldn't support building many more ship of the lines or battle cruisers, costing over 8 influence per ship and dying to a single mine each. I tried to think of a way we could power through the mines without losing our ships, and then I realized
Schooner reporting.
sea mines trigger on ships, all ships, including trade ships. Schooners cost only a single point of influence, build incredibly quickly, and cost virtually nothing. Why invent a minesweeper when you have a mine kicker? And if they survive even that, well, that's what the TNT and firebombs are for. Go! Go, ships! Oh my god! Don't know. We're just blocking them in.
Change the master is not to be free. Those people would rather die than serve you.
You just crossed paths with the Great Wibbly.
You know, I think the real winners of our great unification are the people. The people of the old world are thriving. The people of the new world are prosperous. Crown Falls exists. And Abasa, oh yeah. And the Arctic colonies. Oh yeah, I also discovered Antarctica, but they're not doing so hot. Oh, as you can see, evidenced by my Grand Palace, which is not out of place whatsoever, my message to the Grand Peoples of Otto von Bismarckia, no need to thank me, all in a day's...
An explosion